Kenya going forward. And therefore, without giving a lot of details, into next year, we're going to upgrade our air assets, our land assets, our mobility, especially for serious and dangerous operational areas, to provide armored, protected, and anti-mine mobility vehicles so that our officers do not get the exposure that they have got in the past. Because the cowards who are perpetuating terror will never engage our officers, and that is the style of cowards. They come at night, they place some things in some road at night, and they hide in the bushes. And so once we sort out our mobility equipment to make sure that it is protected, and we have minesweepers, it's going to be impossible for these terrorists to hurt our people and our officers going forward, because they are cowards. They cannot engage with us directly. They survive by coming at night, placing some gadgets, and disappearing. And therefore, in 5 years, starting last year, the government is going to use a total of 37 billion to modernize the equipment of our police and the Kenya Prison Service. The government is going to use a similar amount of money to modernize the equipment of our Kenya Defense Forces. And going forward, we will have less of this. Last year, when I started as Minister for Interior, we had lost 54 officers last year. We've tried to make some stopgap interventions. The number this year is 37. Our target is that going forward, we will bring that number to 0. So, for the time being, we are here mourning our departed colleagues, our brothers who have gone ahead of us in the line of duty, honorably, in the most sacrificial manner. I don't think there is another sacrifice one can make in the service of their country. The DCI officer we lost this year was shot by an armed robber whom we had been tracking all the way from Nyanza until Kasarani. And unfortunately, out of the team that was tracking that robber, we lost our officer from the DCI. I have been to hospitals to see some of the luckier colleagues, young men, full of life, hardly in their mid-20s, but they have lost their ability to work any longer. Some have had their legs amputated. So that is the nature of the sacrifice. And when I hear this general condemnation on security forces, it gets me concerned, because sometimes what our officers go through, only their families and God in heaven knows. So, we will get there. We are not there, but we'll get there. As you are aware, the President also set up a task force to improve terms and conditions of service, both for National Police Service and the Kenya Prison Service. We are at the tail end, and at the moment you heard the President announce there will be a 40% increase of salaries, which will be staggered in 3 years for obvious reasons, because the country is not in a very good economic situation. Nevertheless, we are determined to make sure that we implement the review, or rather the recommendations that have come with that review, and also carry this to the next level. I would also want to say that last year when I stood here, for those of you who are here, I did say that we are going to establish an endowment fund which will support families that have been left by our foreign heroes in the line of duty. I did task the institutions concerned to set up the endowment fund. The Vice Chairperson of the National Police Service Commission, who is here, has assured me that the policy framework for the endowment fund has been completed and is waiting my approval. And I want to commit that we will operationalize the endowment fund this financial year. And that fund, I am yet of course to look at the recommendations on how it will be managed, but it will not be managed by us. It will be managed by families that are affected, with of course our support to make sure that we offer scholarship opportunities, medical support, and other distress responses to families who have been left by our dear colleagues. And therefore, we are ready. In fact, we are waiting for that process. I think it took a little longer than I expected, but I am glad now that process is complete. And already we have looked for some money, seed money. And therefore from this year, we will operationalize that fund and support the families which are seated here. We'll find a way, because this is something we should have done a long time ago, because every year we have this kind of situation. So we'll find a way of starting somewhere, and then we will see what to do with the historical families who have been affected in the past,